Let's begin by explaining the terms innovation and creativity, because each means different things to different people. Innovation is best explained as doing old things in a new way that's more efficient, more economical, and more effective, and better meets user needs. It's defined as a new idea, device, or method, often as a better solution to either existing or unarticulated needs from markets, governments, or society. Innovation is not to be confused with invention, which is the creation of a new product or the introduction of a new process for the first time. For example, the microprocessor was invented by Intel engineers Federico Fagin, Ted Hoff, and Stanley Mazzo in 1971. But it was not until it was turned into 100 useful products, such as the computer or the cell phone, that it became an innovation. We'll discuss innovation in more detail in a subsequent lesson. But first, let's look at the driving force behind both innovation and invention, which is creativity. My colleague Shlomo Matai talks about creativity as widening the range of options.
Creativity is widening the range of choices. So by widening the range of choices for people, they may choose it or they may not. If they don't choose it, they're no worse off. If they choose the creative idea, they're better off, often much better off. So you can only make the world better by creativity and widening our range of choices.
Creativity is about forming something new and somehow valuable. It may be intangible, such as an idea, a scientific theory, a musical piece, or even a joke, or a physical object, such as an invention, a literary work, or a painting. It's studied in areas as varied as psychology, education, design, sociology, business studies, and economics. Interest in the potential for enhancing creativity is being studied by linking personal type to creative ability and fostering creativity through education and training, as well as the application of creative resources to improve the effectiveness of teaching and learning. For society and individuals to advance, each of us needs to be more creative. Individual creativity is a combination of your natural creativity, which is what you're born with, and the environment in which you operate, which you sometimes can control, and your approach to creativity, which you can often learn.
So in organizations, we talk about creativity as the interplay between ability and process by which an individual or group produces an outcome or product that is both novel and useful, as defined within some social context. Notice that this definition describes both people's abilities as well as a process. Also notice that it highlights both individuals and groups as creative entities. Next, notice that it talks about an outcome or product as well as a context or situation. And finally, notice it defines a creative outcome as something that is both new or novel and useful.
So some of you might be wondering why useful is part of this definition.
The inclusion of useful in definition is sometimes highlighted as a difference between artistic creativity and business or organizational creativity, with business authors suggesting that artistic creativity does not require or rely so heavily on usefulness of a creative product in that domain.
In 1961, James Melvin Rhodes was the first to identify 4 elements of creativity, an approach that's still used when researching creativity today. And it provides a useful framework for identifying different aspects that influence individual creativity. Rhodes defined the 4 cornerstones of creativity research: person, process, press, and product. The person includes personality, intellect, temperament, physique, traits, habits, attitudes, self-concept, value systems, defense mechanisms, and behavior. Process includes motivation, perception, learning and thinking, as well as communication. Press refers to the relationship between human beings and their environment, or the context in which they operate. Although not a traditional definition of press, this term is used in the field of education. Product is basically a thought that has been communicated to other people through words, material, or images in its purest form, it can be viewed as an idea. Creativity is important because it becomes the driving force behind innovation. Although it's often difficult to teach or even to accept, creative people are often seen as unreasonable. In the words of George Bernard Shaw, the reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable one persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man. But before we link creativity to innovation and progress, I want to add a comment about passion and how it influences both the creative process as well as innovation. Creative people tend to be passionate and want to change the world. This is not about making money, although some of our most creative people do make money. I also asked my colleague Rob McNamee to talk about why we should care about creativity.
There are a few different reasons, and each may be more or less important to various students in this course. First, creativity is part and parcel to our humanity, and it's a core aspect of our fulfillment as human beings. Second, being creative is a competitive advantage for you when you launch your career, no matter what your major and what your career path. Applied organizational creativity is critical to your ability to get a job, particularly at interesting high growth or innovative organizations. Creativity was named as one of the most critical factors for success in a survey of 1,500 executives across 35 industries conducted by IBM in 2010. In addition, according to LinkedIn, creative is the most used buzzword in user profiles for the last 2 years. Finally, on a list of 21st century competencies, there used to be 3 C's: critical thinking, collaboration, and communication. But now there are 4. Creativity and its cousin innovation makes most of the lists of today. Furthermore, creativity requires the other 3 C's: collaboration, communication, and critical thinking. All of these are emphasized strongly in this course.
So we've identified the importance of creativity and the need for each of us to improve it. In the next part of the lesson, we'll give you some insights into your own creativity and some suggestions as to how you might become more creative or how you might remove the barriers to creativity. We leave you with 10 of the most expensive or interesting creative artifacts.